I know right now all you can probably see is my hands. Give me 1 second here. I just have to fix my computer. Okay, so my name is Angie. Let me, can we see me on the other one? I think we can. I'm from Nebraska, and I started doing a show on Facebook called Cooking with Angie almost a year ago. It might be right at the year. Um, Kind of it was born out of the pandemic, and I lost some hours at work, and they were cut in half. And I was talking to my friend, and I said, what am I going to do with myself, because this isn't fun. Just sitting here. So he's like, I'm going to send you a tripod and you're going to do a cooking show, because I had talked about it in the past. So that's kind of how it started, and it's just kind of moved on from there. I do have a Facebook page that I usually stream from, and we do events through Eventbrite as well. And I have about 330 followers, so it's gotten bigger than I thought it was going to be, because I initially thought I'd be cooking for myself and two friends. So, um, so yeah, it's turned into something fun. I love cooking. I love entertaining. I love learning about food. I'm self-taught. I've never taken any classes myself. My mom and my grandmother, taught me, and I was cooking for my family by the time I was around 10, 11. So, yeah, that's how this all started. So today, what I'm going to be making are two, I like to consider them summery dishes. Um, the first one I'm going to start with is cucumber salsa. The first time I had cucumber salsa was on a camping trip, and it was blazing hot outside. We were in Indiana camping, and it was, I believe, over Labor Day weekend, and it was so hot. And my friend brought out this cucumber salsa, and it was just the most refreshing thing ever, and I've loved it ever since. So that's what we're going to start with. But before I start the cucumber salsa, I'm going to get our shrimp in our water for the shrimp cocktail. So I'm going to do that really quick, but I will show you the shrimp that I use. Typically, I do live in Nebraska, so we are landlocked, but I do like to try to get the freshest shrimp I can get. Unfortunately, right now, I just couldn't. So I did get it's Gulf shrimp, wild caught Gulf shrimp. And I was taking a little bit of a shortcut and got the deveined and peeled shrimp. I will say, if you are going to, take your time and don't mind peeling all the shrimp, it is better with the peels on when you cook it. It just retains the flavor more, I think, but it's a lot of peeling and a lot of little shrimp legs to take off. So it gets to be a little bit tedious. But this is what I'm using today, and it's the 40/50, which means there's 40 to 50 shrimp per pound, I believe, is how that's classified. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in our water. I will say, let me cut this open for you. My hands are clean. I already washed them. Let me cut this open, and I kind of want to show you. So I saw an instructional video on cooking shrimp, and when you take it out, it's just kind of loose and what have you. And they were telling you that the tighter the C gets on the shrimp, because it is kind of a C shape, the tighter that gets, the more cooked the shrimp is. Well, we aren't wanting it to be very cooked today, so I'm really just going to blanch it until it kind of turns a little light pink, because traditionally with shrimp cocktail and ceviche and Mexican dishes like that with raw fish and raw shrimp, they typically use the acidity from the lime juice to cook it. So I kind of like to cook mine a little bit, just because we don't have the freshest shrimp. If I had fresh shrimp, I would probably do it the traditional way, but I just like to cook it just a little bit, make sure all of the any bad stuff is cooked out. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this into our hot water for just a little while. I only cook them until they float, so I really don't cook them for very long. So give me 1 second. And I'm going to kind of keep an eye on these back here while I'm doing the cucumber salsa. absolutely, I have to have clean hands. So I wash my hands a lot. Okay, so we're gonna get the cucumber salsa started. And I'm just gonna start with peeling the cucumbers, and I'm gonna do two cucumbers. With the recipes that I submitted, the measurements might be just slightly off a bit, just because I'm making this more appropriately for myself. I don't want to make a whole lot. So adjust it accordingly to your needs, that's fine. And so what I'm gonna do is bring my bowl over here for my peels. And I usually peel my cucumbers if they're store-bought, simply because I don't like the waxy coating on the peel. So I do peel them. If you're able to get farmers market cucumbers, grow your own cucumbers, or figure out how to take that waxy stuff off, then by all means, or if it doesn't bother you, don't peel them, that's fine. It's personal preference. I prefer to peel them. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And I'm gonna also show you how to seed the cucumber. And I usually don't seed my cucumbers or my tomatoes when I make this, just because I don't mind the seeds, but I know that some people have issues with seeds, dietary issues. There's also, hi guys, there's also just some people don't like to eat seeds, and that's fine too. So I will show you how to seed that real quick. We're just gonna get these nice and peeled up. Checking my shrimps are kind of starting to float a little. So there's just a few more seconds. And sometimes I will, if I have a rolling boil on that shrimp, I will shut the water off, just because I just don't want them to overcook, because the lime juice will continue to cook them. So kind of adjust maybe that a little bit there. This is my counter here, sorry about that. But that lime juice will keep cooking it. And so the more it cooks it, the more firm it becomes. And that's why I just kind of parboil the shrimp a little bit. Oh, I need to not use this knife. This is a very sharp knife, and we're not trying to have any emergencies while we're cooking. So I'm gonna use this other one to peel. I was gifted those knives for my birthday, and I absolutely love them, but I always have to use my older knives to peel things, because those are a dangerous tool. We'll just get this other one peeled up here. And I like these two dishes. I like to make them together because they do have a lot of the same similar ingredients, similar flavor profile, and they're perfect for summer because there's no mayonnaise in them. There's, you do have to be careful with the shrimp, obviously, but the acidity of the lime juice can kind of help with that as well. So they're just perfect for summer dishes. You don't have to refrigerate the cucumber salsa, at least, because there's no mayonnaise or anything in it. So I'm going to cut this in half because I want to show you the seeds in here. And this one doesn't have a lot of seeds. Let me see if this other one does. Not that I can't do it with that one, but it gave me some pretty seedless cucumbers this time. Okay, well, we'll just we'll go with this one. And so what you're going to do, if you want to seed your cucumber, I always use a spoon. You can use a smaller spoon if you'd like. I just have like a tablespoon soup spoon. And you're going to start here at the base of the seeds. I hope you can see this. I can move it a little closer if you can't. Just let me know if you need me to change angles and stuff. But I start at the base here, and then you just kind of scrape around where the seeds are, the seed marking. And when you get to this side here, you're going to kind of feel it pop. And then it just all kind of pops out. Might have to cut down a little bit, but there, you've removed the seeds. Simple, easy, fast. You can scrape it a little bit more if there's more seeds in there, that's fine. And then you have a clean seeded cucumber. So that's how the easiest way for me to do it. But like I said, I don't usually seed them because I just don't mind the seeds. So I won't do that with the rest of it, but we're going to chop this up. And the best way to do this is to kind of try to keep everything a uniform shape if you can. It just eats better on the chips that way. And my OCD won't allow me. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, if you can keep it around the same size, it's just easier and it looks pretty. So, but no one's going to come and be the chop size police, so don't worry. So we're just going to keep chopping these cucumbers, and then if anyone has any questions or anything, let me know. I can try to read the comments here and reply to you. Let me check my shrimp here real quick.
Angie, they were wanting to know where to find the ingredients list, and I couldn't find it in our email. So maybe later today you could send it to me, and I will email it to everybody that was on this call with us.
Absolutely, I do have it in a Google Doc, so I can get that to you.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to drain my shrimp now. I'll just show you here. I don't know how well you can see through the little murky of the water there, but they are floating now. And so I'm just going to drain them and rinse them with some cool water to get them kind of cooling off, because we will have to slice this up a little bit. So I don't want to burn our fingers. That's not a good time. 1 second to get some cold water.
Angie, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I was just saying I was draining my shrimp, and I'm going to rinse them with some cold water so that I can get them cooling down while I'm continuing to make the cucumber salsa. So I'm going to run some water. It'll be just a second here. And you could also, if you'd prefer to just put your shrimp in an ice bath, you could do that as well. What an ice bath is, if you're not familiar, is just a bowl of water, ice water, and then you can put your shrimp in a strainer, in a hand strainer, and just sit that inside and let them cool that way. That works as well. I just don't have ice for that, so that's why I am just going to have them in some cool water, and then we will continue to do chopping here for the cucumbers. This is going to be perfect for here today, because I don't know how everyone else's weather has been, but our weather has been in the 90s and humid. Been a little awful, but it is summer. I might just do this other half of the cucumber and then save that other for the shrimp cocktail. And then we'll move on to the tomatoes, and I'll show you how to seed those as well. And it's very, very similar to the cucumber. All right. So this is about, I'll show you the bowl here in a second. This is a cucumber and a half. So they were about, I'd say those were medium to large cucumbers, and this is about a cucumber and a half that we have in here. And so now I'm going to go ahead and move on to my tomatoes. I have 3 Roma tomatoes here. Everything has been washed and prepped, so I'll just go ahead and chop those in half, or cut those in half here. Show you how to seed those and get those chopped up. So there's a lot more seeds and pulp and stuff in the Roma tomatoes to remove than there was in the cucumbers, but it's very, very similar. You're just going to start here at the bottom with your spoon, and it is going to give you some resistance, but you just kind of scoop it up underneath there, spin it around. When you get to the part that you've cut, the stem end, you might have to kind of cut it around a little bit with the edge of the spoon, and then again, it just comes right out. The purpose of removing the seeds from the cucumber, from the tomato, is again, some people can't have seeds, some people don't prefer seeds, and also it can make your dishes a little bit watery, because that's where most of the juice and the liquid is, and so some people prefer not to have that water content. I love tomatoes. I love everything about them, so I don't mind it, and I just leave it in. But again, it's personal preference. So I will not seed the rest of them, but I did seed that one. So when I chop my my tomatoes, you can flip them over so it's more stable, and that's fine. And you're just going to make long slices like this. And then I will always flip them over because it's just softer and it's easier to slice. But, you know, if you're wanting it to be a little bit more stable when you're cutting it, then that's how you would do it. I live dangerously, probably not very wisely. We'll just continue to do these. And this is also, as we start getting our tomatoes and all of our garden vegetables in, this is another perfect way to use those. Nothing is better than garden vegetables or farmers market vegetables. I will fight you on that. But we're just starting to get all of that in right now. So that's why I just use store-bought, which is fine as well. You use what you can get, and it's still going to be tasty. All right, we got one more tomato to cut up in here. Same thing. We're just going to slice the stem part off, cut it in half, cut it lengthwise, and then chop it across. Okay, got a little crazy with that one, but that's all right. All right. And then after this, we would do our onion. And I'm going to use a red onion for this. That's my preference. I think the red onion is a little bit sweeter, a little bit more mild. It doesn't overpower the cucumber. White or yellow onion is fine too. If you prefer it to be a little bit stronger, that's not a problem. I just prefer the milder sweet taste of the red onion. I wouldn't suggest green onions for this though. I just don't think that they would stand up very well to the lime juice and the acidity of the tomatoes and stuff like that. So I wouldn't recommend those. But I do have a red onion here that I've already started using, and I don't waste. So if I have it in my refrigerator, even if I'm doing a cooking demonstration, I pull it out and use it. So for the onion, we're going to kind of do it similar. We're going to do these long slices here. And if you're doing this at home, you're doing double duty with these vegetables. So if you wanted to chop everything for both dishes at the same time, that would be a time saver. Just for the sake of demonstration, I'm doing it all separately. But if you're doing it at home, go for it. Just do it all at the same time. It's going to save you time and probably a little sanity. So I did about half of that red onion that I had there. I think when I originally started with it, it was a medium one. Again, you'll just adjust this to your quantities, and that's fine. So we'll get that down in there. And then I'm going to get my garlic. And I kind of take a shortcut with my garlic. So just know I'm not going to judge anybody if you decide to take a shortcut with your garlic. The garlic that I use is this Lee Kum Kee. It's pre-minced garlic. It's in the Asian section, and it's you refrigerate it after you open it. And I just love it. So good, and it's so convenient. So I'm going to use about a half a teaspoon of that. I do have more if I need some. Put that down in there. And then we're going to do my favorite part, which is cilantro. If you have ever joined me on one of my cooking classes on Facebook, you know that I believe that cilantro is a food group. I know some people don't like cilantro. Some people love cilantro. This is a fresh bunch of it, and I'm just kind of picking off some of the leaves here that look a little darker. You don't really want those. Sometimes it can be a little bit bitter. But anyway, this is how you'll buy it. And what I like to do if I usually try to use my kitchen shears when I cut it. Cilantro, it's just easier. And if you twist it really tight, you don't want to just crush it, but you're just going to gently twist kind of to where it looks like this. My friend says a cigar. Kind of twist it, twist it, twist it. Get it tight, and then it makes it easier to cut it. So I've got it kind of twisted up here. It's not all flailing everywhere. And then I'm going to move this up here so you can see. I'm just going to make snips. And you can use as much or as little as you like. I love cilantro, so I probably use a ridiculous amount. But I love it. And like I said, it's a food group to me. So I'm going to use maybe about half of this bunch of cilantro. It just kind of depends. I do need some for the shrimp cocktail as well. And one of my theories or one of my rules when I'm cooking is start small. You can always add more. You cannot take away. So that's another reason why I kind of taste as I cook, because, you know, I need to know if I need to add some more. So I'm going to give all this a little stir. This smells amazing. That garlic and onion together with the freshness of the cucumber is amazing. So hopefully you can see this. I wish you could smell it, but we'll get that all kind of incorporated there, and then we'll start adding our lime juice and our salt and pepper. And I'm also going to add some jalapeno to this. You can leave the jalapeno out if you'd like, if you don't want it spicy, or you can add it in, that's fine as well. And also I was going to say with the cilantro, if you don't like it, I wouldn't add like basil or parsley or anything like that, I don't think, because it would completely change the flavor profile. You can maybe try some dried oregano, or else just leave it out entirely and go from there. Okay, so let me get a couple of limes and my jalapeno. So I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to do my jalapeno first, I think. And I don't enjoy chopping up jalapenos, so I do use a glove, because I've rubbed my eyes way too many times after chopping one. And if you've ever done that, it's not a good time. So I do use a glove here. I think I have another one. I hope I have another one. Otherwise, I might have to put it on the other hand. Oh my gosh, I thought I had another one. Okay, so I'm trying to think which one I'm gonna, yeah, I gotta put it on the other hand. I was trying to think of which hand I'm gonna be chopping with. Right-handed. Sometimes I forget. All right, so let's switch here. Because this other hand, I'm just gonna hold it. And you can either hold it with your bare hand, or you can use a fork. Sometimes I will use a fork. I'm not gonna do that this time. But I'm gonna chop this similar to the same way that I've done everything else. I'm gonna do it down long slices. And you're just gonna wanna keep that bare hand as far away from the cut pepper as you can, unless you don't mind. If you don't mind, then that's fine. And, you know, typically you could take the seeds out of this. I'm not going to. I leave them in because I like the heat, but the heat of the pepper is going to be in the seeds and the veins of the pepper. So if you're wanting the flavor of the jalapeno, but you're wanting it to be a little bit more mild, you're going to want to take those seeds and veins out. So the vein is the white part of the pepper. When you cut it open, you can see that. I don't know if I can show you it here. So do you see this part here that's kind of flopping around and it's a little bit lighter than the rest of the pepper? That's the vein. So you will see that if you cut it open, you'll see what I'm talking about. And you'll just remove that, kind of similar to the same way you seeded of everything else. Just kind of scoop it out with the seeds, and it usually all comes out together. So I'm just trying to get a nice finer mince on this right here. Because nobody wants a big mouthful of jalapeno, even though it's delicious. It might be a little bit too hot for someone. So gonna kind of mince it down a little bit. And normally I'd be a little bit more skillful with this, but I'm trying not to touch it. And when it gets down to the size that you're kind of satisfied with, which this kind of looks good, it's kind of the size of a minced onion, I'm gonna put that in there. And then I'm gonna rinse my cutting board, just because I'm gonna be cutting the limes and my hands will be touching it. So give me 1 second, I'm gonna go rinse this real quick. All right. So now I just have some regular limes here. I'm going to keep my glove on because I'm still going to be cutting that jalapeno again. But we have some just regular limes here, nothing special. They've been washed. And so what, there's a couple of things you can do to kind of release the juices in your limes. One of the things is you can roll it. So you apply a little bit of pressure on it and you just roll it on the counter and you can feel it soften. And what that's doing is breaking up the membranes in there and it's releasing the juice. So you can do that until you kind of feel that it feels a little softer. So this one you can see doesn't really have a lot of give. This one you can really kind of squeeze pretty well. So that means the membranes are kind of broken up and it should release the juices a little bit better. Another way that you can do it is pop it in the microwave kind of give it a little bit of a poke so it doesn't explode, and pop it in the microwave. And I think I've seen like maybe 10 seconds, and it'll kind of get the juices flowing in there too. So you can use, if you have it, like a hand squeeze juicer or however you usually juice. I'm just gonna squeeze it in here. Time to get your muscly workout for the day. And I'm gonna start out with these 2 limes. They're nice and juicy. Gave me good limes. I'm gonna start out with these 2 limes first, and then I'll add my salt and pepper, and then I'll kind of taste it and see if I need to do more lime. And these limes are nice because they don't have seeds. Someone had asked me, because I did make this exact same dish a couple weeks ago for my cooking show, and someone had said, "Aren't you worried about seeds?" Well, first of all, I'm not. I mean, it's okay. It's not gonna bother me. I'm not gonna grow a lime tree in my tummy like my mom used to tell me. And limes, the ones I get usually don't have seeds. But if you are worried about the seeds, you can turn it upside down. I'm going to show you this one because I didn't roll it as much, but we'll see if we get as much juice out of here. It is harder to squeeze it though. But anyway, if you're worried about the seeds, you can kind of do it like this, because that'll keep the seeds to the top. I don't really mind one way or the other. I just always do it this way because it's easier, it's faster. The juice goes right in the bowl. It doesn't spray everywhere. All right, 1 more half here of the lime, and then we'll give it a taste. You can also put your hand there. That's kind of habit for me. Put your hand there to catch any seeds as well. Even though I know there aren't seeds in here, it's just habit. So there's a few different ways you can keep the seeds out of your food. All right, so we've got everything in there with the exception of our salt and pepper. So I'm going to give it a little stir. And this just screams summer to me. I mean, this is like so fresh. It's crazy. Okay, so this salt that I'm using is kosher sea salt. And the reason why I like kosher sea salt is because it's, first of all, the flavor, but the grains of salt are a lot bigger. So when you're cooking with it and you're sprinkling it in, you can feel how much you're doing. It's flakier. I just think it gives you a better flavor. So I'm going to do like 3 pinches of salt in there. And then I'm going to just use some ground black pepper. And to taste, I like pepper, as you can see. And then we'll give that a stir. And then I'm going to get my olive oil. We're just going to put just a little drizzle of olive oil in there, kind of to round everything out, kind of work with that acidity of the lime. So let me get my olive oil. And this is just extra virgin olive oil. We're just going to do a few turns around the bowl here, probably about 3. So I'd say that's probably about maybe 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And you can add more if you'd like. That's fine. All right, so I'm going to get a clean spoon here, take a bite, try it, see if the seasoning needs adjusted. I think that's really good. I might do a little bit more pepper, just like I said, pepper to flavor, pepper to taste. Another stir. Now, when I cook this stuff, I cook for myself. So I usually end up just tasting it off the same spoon. I hope that doesn't offend anybody, but if I were cooking for someone else, I would definitely trade out the spoons and not use the same one. Okay, perfect. So there's our cucumber salsa. At the end, I will plate it up and show it to you, but we're going to set this aside. You're going to want to refrigerate that, ideally at least 4 hours before you eat it, just kind of to let everything, what they used to say, marry, let everything kind of go together and kind of start picking up the flavors of each other. So let me start getting everything for the shrimp cocktail here. I'm going to rinse my hands real quick. My lime juice was getting a little sticky. All right, so I'm going to get my bowl. or a shrimp cocktail. And again, it's kind of the same process here. What we're going to go through to start with is cucumbers, tomatoes, and then we'll have some kind of surprising ingredients, some ingredients that you might not expect in there as well once we get going a little bit more. So again, I'm going to go through this kind of quick with the tomatoes since we already did that. I'm sure you guys don't want to see go through the course of how to slice and seed a tomato again. If you do want me to do it again, just let me know in the comments. I can, that's not a problem. And if anyone wants to kind of share what their favorite summer dish is, that would be nice to know. I always love to know what other people are thinking, what their dishes are. You always need an idea for a new dish. And I am always open. And that's kind of the good thing also about cooking is you can always make something your own. Like my friend, the first time I had shrimp cocktail, Mexican shrimp cocktail, was in California with my friend, and it was delicious. Oh my gosh. And when I came back here, I just missed it. And at the time, unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of authentic Mexican restaurants here in Lincoln. So it was kind of hard to find, something that tasted like what, like it tasted in California. It's kind of difficult to do that. So I just kind of started looking up recipes and kind of made it my own. And I know that it's not completely traditional, but it's pretty darn close, and it tastes pretty close to what I got out in California. Thankfully, we do have more restaurants popping up around town that do serve more authentic Mexican food. So I have found a restaurant where I can get it now, and it's delicious. And they serve it in this big goblet. They bring it to your table. It's such a ceremony, and it's a huge goblet. And they serve it typically with saltine crackers. I don't really care for it with saltine, so I'll usually eat it with a tostada or tortilla chips is what I'm using today, or even just a tortilla, just a flour tortilla. I do prefer corn tortillas though, but I think it would be absolutely delicious, and I might try this sometime to make homemade tortillas and have it with a homemade tortilla. I think that would be absolutely delicious because they're so soft and yummy and warm, and I need to try that sometime. So I might do that. Okay, so we've got our tomatoes cut up there. We did 4 tomatoes. That was fast. I didn't even realize I did 4 tomatoes that quick. And then I'm gonna grab my cucumber that I have over here left over from the salsa. And I'm gonna grab another one that I have back here, and we'll see if we need another one, but we'll just go with this for right now. So I'm gonna peel this one here. And when I choose my cucumbers, like these were brought to me because I have my groceries delivered right now. But when I choose my cucumbers on my own, I usually try to get the ones, I'll show you this one back here. They did a perfect job with it. They're kind of a little bit longer, thinner. You'll see kind of bumps on it. And I do like them maybe even a little bit more bumpy. I have one here that I got from the farmer's market. And see that one just for slicing, but you can see, hopefully you can see, it's just kind of bumpy and textured. And these are the best cucumbers. They're sweeter and they're so good if you're just going to slice them and eat them. So that's how I prefer my cucumbers. But usually if they give me these big old fumbly chubby ones, which are fine. I tasted them, so they aren't bitter, but there's nothing worse than making something, you're so excited to eat it, and then you have a bitter cucumber. So I'm just going to slice this up real quick. Again, I'm not going to seed this. And we'll see how much it yields out of this cucumber and a half. Go from there. And that farmer's market one that I showed you, I probably would still peel that one as well because the skin on that one is a little bit rough. So, but use your best judgment and whatever you prefer. Okay, let me move this out of the way. We'll get these cucumbers chopped up. Oh, this one had a lot of seeds. This would have been good to show you how to seed that one, of course. The one I didn't pick, right? All right, so we're just gonna, if I can get this to line up again, there we go. All right, get this quick chop. We're just gonna chop and dump real fast here. Please, if you're doing this, be careful. Don't use the cutting board like I do that spins all around. Please don't cut your fingers. It's not fun. I've done it way too many times. All right. I'm gonna run some of this over to my mom and my brother when I'm done. So that's why I'm kind of keeping it a little bit mild on the spice because you don't enjoy the spice as much as I do. So, but I'm sure they're gonna be pretty excited to get this because they like it. And the last time that I made it too spicy. So I didn't take them any because I knew that it would be too spicy for them. But if you do have a situation in your home where you're cooking or you're making this shrimp cocktail and you have some that enjoy spice and some that don't, usually what I will do when I have their portion taken out is I will just add some hot sauce to mine. And I usually use Tabasco. I'm a little bit partial to Tabasco sauce, but you can also use a more authentic sauce that you could use would be Valentina. It's delicious, and you can get that. I can find it pretty much in any store. That's the sauce that my friend suggested to me, and it's not as bitey and vinegary as Tabasco. So that would be a suggestion that you could just put any kind of hot sauce that you would enjoy in it, or you could just put it directly on your, tostada or whatever you're deciding to eat the shrimp cocktail on. All right, that should be enough for us. So now we're going to do the onion. Got to be careful because we're getting down to the nub here. We don't want to make finger nubs. I just need a bigger cutting board. All right, let's move this back a little bit. Good thing I cleaned the counter, right? Clean your cooking surfaces because if you're bumbly like me, you're going to have onions everywhere. All right. So again, you can add more or less onion if you'd like. You could leave it out if you'd like. If you have people that like the flavor of onion, but they don't like the texture or whatever that might be, you can grate your onion. That's also something that you could do, and it just kind of creates an onion juice. I'll show you the grater that I use when I do that here in just a second, just to kind of give you an idea. Let me grab that. Give me a second. I just use one of these little hand graters if I want to grate my onion and if I want it to be fine and just kind of make like an onion juice. This is what I use. And then that way people that don't enjoy the texture of the onion, they can still get the flavor of it, but there's not the texture in there. So we've got all of that. We've got our tomato, our cucumber, our onion. I'm going to go ahead and add our garlic. So I'm going to add the rest of this. It's about a teaspoon. If you want more or less, adjust accordingly. We've got that. Good thing I have another jar because garlic is light. Okay, and so now I'm going to get my celery. And a little side note about me and celery. Usually when I use celery, I always like to use the inner stalks of the celery. They're just so much more tender, and I think they have such a much more mild flavor. I just like them, but I used them all the last time, so I have to use these. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this in half so that I have a little bit more room to chop it. And I have 3 stalks of celery right now. I don't know if I'm going to use all of that, but we'll just see. We'll play it by ear. So again, we're just going to slice it down and then chop it like we've done everything else, trying to keep it kind of a uniform size. Makes it easier for eating. And also with celery, I try to chop it up because I don't like the celery strings. I love the taste of celery, but I don't like those wicked celery strings in my teeth. So let's just get some of these here. And the celery just adds such a nice crunch to it too. I mean, you already have the crunch of the other vegetables, but Celery adds a different crunch, I think. And then, you know, obviously different flavor profile as well. So I'm just going to keep doing our celery here. And the darker the celery is, the stronger the flavor is going to be. So that's why I said I like those nice little tender, pale stalks from the inside. Just they're so much, they're even kind of sweet. If they just sold those, I'd be in heaven. I'd be so happy. All right. I'm gonna maybe do this other half here, see how much we got, and go from there. I don't know if we'll need much more. These are pretty big stalks of celery. So I think that should be good for the celery. Well, maybe I'll do one more half. Because this is gonna make so much shrimp cocktail. I'll have to take them to the ladies at work. I work for a doctor, and so they like it when I bring bring my creations to work to share with them. So maybe I'll take some to work for them. All right. And then also, I am seeing in the comments some people asking about the cooking classes and stuff like that. If you are interested in checking those out, I don't know if that's okay. If it's not, just let me know. But all of my old classes are archived on there. There's videos, so you can watch those if you'd like. So back to this, we have everything in here: the cucumber, tomato, garlic, celery, onion. So let's do our jalapeno. Get that in there. So again, we're just going to continue with how we were chopping it before. Now you're seeing a little bit more of the seeds and the white part, the vein that you would take out. This is where the heat's going to be, right here in this white part. So if you don't want the heat, take that out. Again, I'm just going to leave it in there. I won't tell my mommy about that. Hopefully I'll chop it small enough so they don't know. A little bit of heat is good, right? It gets you sweating. All right, so I'm going to try to chop this pretty fine. We're not touching the jalapeno. And you know, even if you would rather, you still want the taste of a pepper, but you just aren't feeling the jalapeno, you could do poblano. That's a little bit more mild. Again, I would just take the seeds out. Or you could do just a green pepper, like a sweet bell pepper. That would be fine too. Just chop it really small. I probably wouldn't use too much, but you can definitely do that as well. So we've got that in there. So now I'm going to get the star of the show, which is the shrimp. I hope you can hear me. I'll try to talk a little bit louder when I'm back here. Going to take the water off the shrimp and bring it over here so you can see. So remember how I said the more tight the sea of the shrimp is, the more cooked it is. So these may have gone a little bit more than I'd like for them to go, but what you're looking for is a light pink. And these are definitely light pink. They were white when we started, so you just want a light pink color on them. So we're going to go from there. Now, you can use more shrimp. This is a pound. You can use more if you'd like. You don't have to. You could put the shrimp in whole. You don't have to chop them up if you don't want to. I just chop them up because I think they go a little bit further. So I just chop them into thirds, each shrimp into thirds. And I will show you this. It's so easy. Okay. Let me find a good size one here. Because when you get them in the bags like this, they are going to be differing sizes. Okay, so here's kind of a good size one. And so I'm going to show you, hopefully you can see on the board here, I just lay it flat. And then if you cut right here, so the head is there, the tail is there, this is the rest of the body. If you cut right down in the middle by that hole that's there, it's going to cut it into thirds right away. Bam. See, one chop, cut into thirds, you're good to go. So it saves you some time. And I'm all about that because I'm a busy lady and I'm sure we're all busy. So yeah, you can just rock it out there, chop it into thirds all in one little chop. Get that going. That's the thing about these two dishes. They're delicious and they're worth it, but it's a lot of chopping. You're going to definitely sharpen your knife skills. I guess that was a pun, huh? You're going to get better with your knife skills after making these because you're cutting all day long. All right. And you know, this is something I bet kiddos could help out too. Unfortunately, I don't have kiddos, but kiddos could help out with this too. Obviously, you're not going to want them, you know, the younger ones using the knife, but you or the older kiddos could cut up the vegetables. Adult or older kiddos could cut everything up, put it in a bowl, set it to the side, and then when it's time to add everything, you know, you could help them pour it into the bowl. They can help you stir, stuff like that. So, you know, cooking can be family friendly. That's how I learned to cook. My mom and my grandma were like, okay, here you go. Let's do this. And I mean, back then, because I was born in 76, back then it wasn't, oh, be careful with that knife or this or that. It's like, it'll toughen you up. So, but do be careful with the knives, especially with the kiddos, please. All right, we'll just keep doing this real quick. And then once we are done cutting up this shrimp, we're going to go ahead and add in our cilantro. Some of these smaller ones, I'm just adding them in whole. But we're going to add in our cilantro, our lime juice, and then we'll get to our seasonings. And then our surprises that we put in, because there's some unexpected things and people are always like, really? Yes, and you probably wouldn't know that it's in there if I didn't tell you. So we're almost there. I might just put the rest of these in whole. Nobody ever hated a whole shrimp, right? Okay. These smaller ones I'll just pop in here. Little guy. I'm just gonna rough chop and then put them in there. All right. I'm gonna clear some of this real quick and rinse the shrimp off my cutting board. So I'm gonna pop back here again. Just give me 1 second. All right. I can take my glove off now. We're going to get our cilantro in here. So again, I'm going to do what I did before. We've got little pieces that were already cut on here coming off. I'm going to do what I did before, twist it tight. And if you use some of the stems of the cilantro, that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. So get my scissors and just snip away until I have the amount of cilantro that I want. You can snip it fine. You can just make big chops like I'm doing. You can cut it on the cutting board. I'll kind of show you that too, since I didn't show you the last time. And it's the same concept. You're just gonna twist it as tightly as you can. When you're cutting it with a knife on the cutting board, you want to try to twist it maybe a little bit tighter if possible. And then hold it, but just be really careful. And this is useful if you want to do like a finer chop. So I would recommend on a cutting board with a knife if you want a finer chop on it. So we'll just put all of that in there. And that was about another half of a bunch of cilantro. A little stem in here, we're going to take that out. All right, so now let me grab a few more limes. And I use a few more limes for this one. I usually use about 3. So again, we're just going to roll them. Break up those membranes. Give me 1 second. There's just cilantro all over everything. And I know it's all going together. Yeah.
If we didn't want to use cilantro, what could we use? I'm one of those people that cilantro tastes like soap to me.
Yep.
So what would be another good thing to put in there instead of that?
I would try some dry oregano.
Okay.
I wouldn't use parsley or basil because I think that would change the flavor profile too much. Okay. But I think dry oregano would kind of go along with it because Mexican cooking does use a good amount of oregano. So that would be my suggestion. Okay. And with dry herbs, you'll want to use a little bit less because they're more concentrated because they're dry. So
yep. Thank you.
How do I store my cilantro to make it last a little bit longer? Rita, usually what I do with my cilantro, well, I don't ever have to store it because I just use it right away. But if you are trying to store it, what you can do is rinse it off. Miranda, this should work for dill too. Oh, are you asking? Let me answer Rita and then I'll answer you. Sorry. Rita, as far as the cilantro and storing it, you can do it a couple of different ways. I've seen it a couple of different ways. You can rinse it, clean it, chop off the bottom stems, and then pop it in a cup of water and put it in an area of your refrigerator that you know isn't going to freeze, because it is like, it's going to be taller and closer to, sometimes stuff freezes. So just put it in an area that's a little bit away from the back of the refrigerator. And it usually keeps pretty well that way. What I typically do with mine, though, is I'll rinse it, I'll clean it, I'll dry it really well. And then I put it in a Ziploc heavy duty like freezer bag. And I wrap just a very, very damp paper towel around it. Very, very damp. Just to kind of keep a little bit of moisture in with it. And I'm doing 3 limes, by the way. And that usually keeps it pretty well. Miranda, are you asking if we can use dill to replace the cilantro, or are you asking how to store dill? And that was a good question, Rita. Thank you. Replacement, I wouldn't replace it with dill. I think dill would be too strong. And again, it would change that flavor profile. Like you could definitely try it. Flavor is subjective. And if you wanted to just make a batch of it, of the shrimp cocktail, and then add different replacement herbs for the cilantro, that would be fine, just to test it and find what works for you. There's nothing wrong with that. Cooking and experimenting, that's the way to go. So yeah, if you wanted to just make a batch of it, leave the cilantro out, and then try different fresh herbs, that would be a great way to go. All right, so another good question. Thank you for asking those. So I've got 3 limes in here. I'm going to kind of give it a stir and see how much we have. I do have more limes that I can add if I need to. So I think for right now, I'm just going to give everything a good stir and then start adding everything else. Once I have the salt and pepper and everything like that in there, I'll give it a taste and see if we need some more lime, because I think I have one more. If you were going to do this to where you were cooking the shrimp with the lime, you would want to use a lot more lime. And I could kind of speak to those adjustments if you'd want me to, but I think typically you're going to use a couple of cups of lime juice. I'm just flipping stuff everywhere, goodness. So yeah, if you're going to cook the shrimp with the lime juice, you're going to want to use more lime. So now I'm going to start with everything else. I'll bring it up from the back here. We've got some regular V8. You could use spicy if you'd like. We've got some Clamato. I've got some ketchup. People don't usually expect that. And then the secret ingredient is going to be a dash of soy sauce. Now, some of these spices and stuff I left out of the recipe simply because, again, it's subjective, but I can add it in for you guys so that you have that information. So we're going to start just adding everything in here. So for the ketchup, and another thing, you guys, you've probably, picked up on this. I don't measure anything. I try to give you guys as close to the measurement as I can, but I cook by taste. So I'm really bad about measurements. I'm sorry. So I'm going to put about 1/4 of a cup of ketchup in here. And this is just regular ketchup. And I know it sounds weird, but if you try to make this without the ketchup, something's off. I'm telling you, I've tried. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to do our Clamato. So typically, traditionally, I believe this is made only with Clamato, but I prefer some V8 too. So I usually do half and half. So I'm just going to add the Clamato here, and I can always add more. And what Clamato is, if you're not familiar with it, Clamato is tomato juice and clam juice. And I know that sounds awful, but it complements the shrimp really well. So it is good. I promise you, you can't even tell. I'm going to add some V8 in here. And like I said, this is just a regular V8, but you can add spicy V8 if you'd like, or you could just all Clamato, whichever you choose. Going to give this a stir. And I am gonna make gonna make it a little bit more loose here. I just start out with less, add more when I need to. All right, so give this a little stir. And everyone's like, this is shrimp cocktail? But yeah, this is Mexican shrimp cocktail. This isn't the shrimp cocktail that you're used to getting in a steakhouse. Not at all. All right, so we'll give that a stir. Actually, I'm going to taste it and see if I need any onion powder or garlic powder. That's another thing I didn't include, but if you need it, you can. So give me 1 second here. We might need some more lime juice. I am going to add some onion powder and garlic powder. So I'd say about a teaspoon of each. I'm out of onion powder, so I'm just going to add the rest of it in there. About a half teaspoon. Then we're going to do some salt, and I'm going to do probably 3 good pinches of salt in here. So I'd say that's maybe about a half teaspoon. And then we're going to do black pepper to taste, which I probably add more than I need. I'm going to give it another stir. And the reason why I'm giving it a stir is because I want to incorporate that salt, because our next ingredient also will lend to the saltiness of this dish, which that is soy sauce. I know it sounds weird, but it's one of those things, you put a little bit of it in there and it changes it, and you can't really quite tell what it is, but it's got this taste, and you need it. So it's kind of like the ketchup, you need it. So let me take a taste here. We're gonna do, I'd say just like 3 shakes. I'm using Kiko Man. 3 shakes of soy sauce, not that much. Stir that up. And then when you serve this, if you'd like, or before you serve it, you can also do this. You can mix it in with this if you'd like. You could do avocado. I usually don't do avocado because I don't like the way it changes the texture of the avocado, but you can if you'd like. That's completely up to you. So let me move these over here. I'm going to get our last lime here, give it a roll, because it definitely needs a little bit more lime juice. I'm going to start out with just half of another lime. And I'm also cilantro, lime, they're life. So I probably use way more than I need to. But there we go. All right, let's give it another stir. Stir, 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 taste. That's the story of my life when I'm cooking. And I'm probably going to add a little bit more V8 in there too, but let me try this. Okay. A little bit more V8 and we're good. And then I'm going to dish this up for you so I can show you what it looks like. Move some of this stuff out of the way here. All right. We'll get the big spoon now. Okay. Let me grab my bowls. I'll bring my cucumber salsa back over. And you'll notice after it sits for a little while, the cucumber salsa, you're going to start getting this juice on the bottom, and that's gold. So don't mind it. That's the good stuff. It's all of the vegetables kind of juicing out and coming together with their flavors. So you're fine. All right. Let me get my bowl for my shrimp cocktail. And we will plate up our, oh, sorry, give me a second there. Don't anger the computer when you're in the middle of something, right? Okay, there we go. I'll move my bowl back here. All right, so I'm gonna do the shrimp cocktail first. I'm sorry, the cucumber salsa first. I'm gonna put it here in this little ramekin. Not this ramekin. There's another ramekin. Clean one. All right, so we're just gonna serve this up. Now, if you'd like to have some of this juice in there, you can. It might make your chips a little bit soggy, but you can put some in there. So we've got that, and I'll set this aside. there's that. And we'll plate up our shrimp cocktail. Like I said, the two of these go together so well because they have such similar flavor profiles. So with the shrimp cocktail, you definitely want some of the juice with it. That's kind of why I like to eat it with like a tortilla, a fresh tortilla, because you can soak up all that juice and it's so yummy. I'm going to wipe my bowl here real quick. Right. All right. So there is the shrimp cocktail. Let me move this aside. And then if I, when I'm serving this, obviously I would just have a big bowl of chips or whatever it is that I'm going to serve it with. But right now I'm just going to garnish it for you guys. So what I have here are just some restaurant style thin corn tortilla chips. And I'm just going to pop a few in there because it makes it look pretty. And again, presentation, right? So I'll just do that. Pop a few on there. And yeah, I mean, that is it, guys. That is our two dishes. I hope you've had fun. I'm so happy that you guys invited me. Thank you so very much. Before we stop, does anyone have any questions about the dishes or anything like that?
Thank you, Angie. I really appreciate you doing this. This was awesome. We will have this video on our YouTube channel on the end of next week. Atlantic Institute South Carolina YouTube channel, or SC. It's Atlantic Institute SC. And I will send the recipe out to everybody who participated today. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.